I'm not Mitch Connor, and I have had no time to break down all these ISIS beheading videos, but I found one that I kind of think I might. Um, Daily Mail posted it yesterday. It was posted on Best Score like 3 days ago. Um, the video actually was here. They barely show anything in this article. I'll leave the Best Score link too. But for those who don't understand, see these high quality, professionally edited ISIS videos so far have all been fake with the exception of the ones that use older footage, okay? Which, and they're created by the joint effort of CIA, the Mossad, British intelligence, and other allies within the region. There's a lot of history to that I'm not going to go over right now. Just go look at the ISIS and Imagination series. It will be linked in the description if you don't know this. Well, they're fake, that is. I don't exactly go over all that much except for, I think, one video I cover a little bit about Rita Katz and the Site Intelligence Group. But there's been many things happening concerning the Islamic State and ISIS over time, like this. Now, I have finally found I've been looking for a Hollywood connection, okay, to these high quality ISIS videos, because the low quality ones are actually real, the ones that are not professionally edited. That's very easy to tell just by watching them. Just go to bestscore.com, and they have a plethora of real and fake. And some people on Bestscore that upload these things do understand that they are fake, that they're heavily leaning towards it's all Mossad, though, but whatever. Point is, this guy, he's appeared in 2 Al-Qaeda propaganda videos. Now, here's a search for the Al-Qaeda flag. And the ISIS flag is practically the same thing. Just in case you don't believe me, I'll reload it. What is that? AMQI flag. What is this? ISIS flag. Alright, so they're the same thing. I'm not going to search for it right now, but there's numerous articles about al-Nusra, which is Al-Qaeda. It's a arm of Al-Qaeda, pledging allegiance to ISIS, to the Caliphate. Okay. Now, al-Baghdadi is a deeper story, and I have once mistakenly thought that it was a green screen, that famous speech from last year, which I actually found out it was not. Nonetheless, that guy, the legitimacy of that guy, that's another story. But this guy, okay, he wanted to be a Catholic priest when he was a kid. It's all in the article, by the way. When he was 13, then he turns into this kind of freaking retard, and he ends up going to Cairo, in a very elite school, that's also in this article. Elite private school. His dad was a director working with Steven Spielberg. Let me find this. I'll pause. Here he is in a rock band, potentially a metal band. I figure based on the guitars in it and just the blackness look of it, maybe punk band. But his mother says he's into pop, though. Maybe that's what Brits consider pop. But his father, Patrick, son of a United Nations diplomat, started his movie career as an assistant director on the film 1984. Yes, 1984, George Orwell's, and progressed through one of the Rambo films, Out of Africa, and Cry Freedom, to work alongside Spielberg on Empire of the Sun and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. In addition to working on numerous other films and ITV police drama series, The Bill, he was second assistant director on Braveheart and Chaplin. He lived in Florida. His stepfather got posted to Saudi Arabia. He ended up living there. He lived in Vienna, I believe it was. Now, like I said, he wanted to be a Catholic priest when he was 13. So, how does one go from being a supposed Christian to a Muslim? The only possible way I see is that you have never read the Bible. Because all right, Old Testament, there's over 300 prophecies about Christ, prophecies that were written hundreds of years before Christ. There's not one about Muhammad. And if there is, well, it's that one about in the Revelation about the false prophet being tossed into the lake of fire. Because, see, Muhammad says that Islam is an Abrahamic religion. He says, and I read this in a World War II era encyclopedia, and it really stuck out to me and completely debunked Islam to me right away. Where he said Judaism is to Christianity is to Judaism as Islam is to Christianity. So it's supposedly an extension of Christianity, which makes no sense because Christ was the completion of Judeo-Christianity. He was the final covenant. Okay. So whether you believe that stuff is irrelevant, okay, whether you believe in that God exists or whatever is irrelevant, because this is a reference to what the scriptures actually say. Okay. Now, that interestingly connects to is that his name? This guy, who there is documentation. Hey, look at this picture of him being a Jesuit priest, and James Arabito, who was a Seventh-day Adventist. You could say what you want about that, but he had a mysterious plane accident shortly after interviewing this guy back in the late 80s. And this guy claims that Catholicism actually created Islam. Maybe he's right, maybe he's not. Some people think that he's not. I've seen both sides of it, and I think there's a good possibility he is. Oh, jumping back to finish a thought, though, Simon Magus was likely that false prophet referred to in the book of Revelation, but that's another story. See, this Kinney guy got radicalized in Vienna. If that's what I recall, I'm not reading directly from it. He happens to post pictures like this, but then joins Islam. Yeah. If this guy somehow is for real, I feel like there's a weird bit of crazy in the ideological contradictions the guy has. Anyway, moving on. I mean, you read the article and make up your own mind, but this one concerns me, and I'm not totally sure what the deal is. I've seen, what is it? It was RT. Oh, from what I see here, from the first page of it, this might be UK propaganda, American propaganda, a mixture of both, because I would think I would see a Russian website on the first page concerning them trying to capture Jihadi John. I mean, do they really think he's this Muhammad Emwazi guy, even though there's no actual proof? And this is photoshopped. I've proved that before. I don't see any real evidence, like the eyes look kind of similar, but a lot of Arabic guys' eyes look kind of similar there. So, I don't exactly buy that at this point, because I don't seem to see. Oh, this is a funny one. So far I don't see anything coming from any Russian sources that really says that, other than the article. The article doesn't say anything about it. Maybe this one will. I bet not. Yeah, click the banner below. Oh yeah, I gotta pay for that. Well, still no alleged sources even, except for a U.S. special or security source. But then, pretty much right at the same time, this guy supposedly held by the Islamic State, Daniel Ryadison, who was forced to sing the Eagles Hotel California in a tribute to Osama bin Laden by British terrorist Jihadi John. Jihadi John forced him to do that, supposedly. Sorry, but based on what I know about Jihadi John, I would say this guy is likely a fraud. Like this guy, who I don't think was really killed. This guy, who was likely killed before that supposed beheading video of him, which was not really him. And here's the book in another language. This guy is similar to, was it Jürgen Todenhofer, who claims he knows James Foley, but yet can't recognize the fact that that's obviously not him in the very first Jihadi John execution video. This guy's story is kind of ludicrous. They're saying he was like held up by handcuffs. Oh, he was inspired by this movie Rescue Dawn with Christian Bale. Let me find where in the article. Here's a piece of it. He planned to spend 3 days in Azaz, a rebel-controlled town close to the border, but was kidnapped after just 1 day by a local branch of Al-Qaeda's affiliate in Syria, Jabhat al-Nusra, who had recently passed over the rapidly expanding Islamic State. Okay, so al-Nusra is against the Islamic State or with the Islamic State? I think they're with the Islamic State. I showed you the flags. And I've shown numerous times the alliances and crap. It's ridiculous. I'm not going to go over it again. What followed were grueling months of daily torture, beatings, death threats, and humiliations. The early weeks, when he was still held alone, were the worst. His captors accused him of photographing the homes of Islamist fighters. He was a CIA agent, they said, intent on forcing a confession out of him. You mean the same CIA that trained all of these bastards? All the bastards that actually fight? And all the bastards that go on camera with these fake beheadings, these fake executions. He was whipped, beaten with cables, punched, the soles of his feet beaten until he couldn't stand on them, deprived of food and drink. He was hoisted in his handcuffs from a hook in the ceiling and left dangling with the tips of his toes only just touching the ground for days at a time, wetting himself, screaming, crying for mercy. He tried to chew off his own hand to escape the excruciating pain, but realized he couldn't do it after he had gnawed away at his skin and got as far as the flesh on his own wrist. Was this while he was hanging? Because that would be kind of hard to do, especially after hanging that long. Like, you know, your arms might just fall asleep and stuff. It's probably kind of hard to pull yourself up. Your feet are just barely touching the ground, like your toes, you know. So how the hell would you have the strength? And not to mention, this is kind of a skinny fuck here. You think he's going to be able to pull himself up like that to chew off his fucking hand? No. I don't think so. Instead, he sought another, quicker way out and attempted suicide. Dragging a table close enough with one foot to climb on top of it, he looked at the chain that hung down from the hook in the ceiling above. If it could be a means of torture, it also could be a means of liberation, he thought. Yeah, suicide is totally liberation. His hands reached out for the cool metal and wrapped the chain around the neck, turned his head again and jumped. How did he reach his hands out if he's hanging? He felt a terrible yank in his body and dust from the ceiling raining down on him. It tightened around his neck, his vision went dark, his body prickled, and he wet his pants. He fell downward into the darkness and onto the floor. I thought he was hanging. Barely alive, the guards cheered loudly when they found him and beat him senseless as punishment. They were methodically breaking him down physically and mentally. When he wasn't being tortured or questioned, he was handcuffed to radiators, alone in empty rooms. In one room, he found a table lamp lying discarded on the floor. Inspired by the film Rescue Dawn, in which Christian Bale escapes a Vietnamese POW camp by prying open his handcuffs with a bent nail, he managed to extract a small piece of metal from the lampshade and went to work. It took a couple hours, but the lock finally yielded. Sure. So he supposedly freed himself and escaped, ran through the streets of a small dusty town, but he found he had already been detected. He was captured by a group of locals, taken to a house where he was fed, served soft drinks, and treated with courtesy. Just as he was beginning to believe that he got away, he heard a booming noise. "Hello, Daniel. We have missed you. Where have you been?" Read the rest of the bullcrap, including how he, he went back into captivity, and he supposedly was there with John Cantley and James Foley, and James Foley asked him to deliver a message. A message to Foley's family, that is. One of the first things he did upon his release was to call Foley's family in the U.S. and deliver the message. Personal greetings to Foley's family members. His mother penned it down word for word. Sure. In a nutshell of what I'm showing you with these three, these two articles mostly, is anti-Russian propaganda. And there's been many attempts to twist the story on Russia, or, I don't know, I don't know about the capturing Jihadi John. I really don't know what the deal is with that, It's not necessarily anti-Russian propaganda, but it's weird that they're doing this when there's no corroboration from Russia on it. I don't think Russia will capture Jihadi John. Maybe it's something